This week on Unboxing with Lupin.
Okay, push pulls. Switch feels good. In tune. Out of the box. Wow, this has a trem. Listen. This is the HILs HN6 in Ultra Gold. This is their top-of-the-line headless guitar design that has a vibrato bar system on it. There's a pair of Fishman Fluence modern humbuckers wired up to a three-way switch, a master volume and tone. These are push-pull pots on here that will change the voicing and the coil split of the pickups. Indian rosewood fretboard with 24 stainless steel frets. This has a compound radius going from 12 to 16 inches, so it is very, very comfortable. And on the back, we've got roasted maple and walnut. The body is mahogany, very ergonomic, very lightweight body over here. I like that they've added these little cushions on here so that you can actually sit this upright like you would a regular guitar. You can see that the jack is coming out here at an angle so that you can fit it through your strap easily. On the back, I've taken the back plate off at the moment. It does ship with a back plate, but you've got your fairly straightforward trem system in there. You've got a battery compartment for the pickups, and you've got your electronics cavity. This is flush mounted on here as well. It's using the HILs headless system. Before we go any further, before we look at some specs and hear some sounds in isolation, we should have a jam on this. And this thing is very easy to play. The neck is, I guess, somewhere in between a medium C and medium D to my hands on there. Very, very comfy, very fun for stuff like this. Standout features with this model would be the trem system, the Fishman Fluence pickups, 24 stainless steel frets, and this finish on here, which hopefully I can kind of capture the way it is changing in the light. You can see there it's almost got this golden or bronzed look there, down to this purple or rose color over here. I'm not doing the best job of capturing that. Hopefully we'll see it with the other camera, but I like that color shifting paint on there. The electronics are really straightforward. Both of these controls, this one's a volume, this one's a tone, are push-pull controls, and I love that they have chosen to use knurled knobs on there. The knurl knobs are so much easier to actually grip on here. So often I see manufacturers put push-pull pots on with very slippery plastic knobs, which might be fine at home, but as soon as you start playing live and you start sweating, you cannot grip those things. So I like that on there. The frets on here aren't as tall as I expected. They are stainless. The edges are really, really nice and smooth. They've done a good job on here, but they're probably more of a medium height than a jumbo height. I mean, I just love jumbos in general. Let's have a quick close-up look at the trem on here. This one is branded H by Alchemy. Kind of looks like a cross between a typical hardtail headless guitar design and something like a classic Floyd Rose. So you've got this barrel in here where you load the string and tighten it up. Then your fine tuners down here. I do like that you've got two adjustment points for the action on there, as well as the ability to move this back and forth for your intonation. So plenty of play in there. It's a pretty smooth feeling 2-point system on there. Again, not as sensitive as something like a typical Floyd Rose, but it can probably be a little bit more sensitive than, say, your typical Godot 510 style, like I've got on my Tyler JTG. I really like that one. So it feels pretty comfortable, and having the individual saddles in here is nice to rest your hands on. I find that if I'm resting about here, the bridge doesn't move too much. And if you're kind of moving down here, then it is very easy to move it with pressure on your palm. Basically, if you've ever played a Floyd, though, you know what you're in for in that regard. It's also got a screw-in bar there. So if you want the bar to be able to move freely, you can set it up to do that. If you're somebody who wants to kind of put it in place and set it, you can do that as well. Like, say, if you set it up, I guess, dime bag style, so it's going back, and you want to do some flutters or something like that, that is going to have no problem doing that. And is it just me, or do these saddles kind of remind you of little Darth Vader masks? It definitely leans into the aesthetic that's going on with the bridge and the pickups. love the way those pickups sound on there, and the voicing options are very musical. I can clearly hear the difference between the two humbucker voices on there, and then having the coil split is definitely icing on the cake. It can do the modern massive chungus tone, but it can also do a lot of mellower and lower gain sounds on there really well, and none of them really feel like a compromise on there. I think having both pots in the pull position, I just treat this like a Telly or a Strat. Having them both down, I just treat like any other humbucker guitar on there. The finish on the body, I have to say as well, even though I'm not really catching it that well with the light, is absolutely flawless. All the comfort contours are great. This is a very ergonomic instrument to play. The neck feels great. This particular guitar doesn't have any dead spots that I found. I like the understated dot inlays on here. I like the smooth feel of the neck. It's very unobtrusive and very inoffensive on there. So you just kind of get on with the business of playing. And this is something that I've been lacking in my guitar lineup, a headless guitar with some Fishman Moderns in here, because I know these pickups can be a bit divisive with some people. People seem to either really love them or hate them, but having these pickups here so that I can use this guitars on demos of amps and pedals is something that I haven't had. And I think because so many of you out there are using these, that's going to be a great piece of the toolkit. And also, while I do have some budget headless guitars, none of them cross that line into truly being a pro level instrument that I'd absolutely trust in a live setting. But this definitely feels like a pro level instrument that I would trust in a live setting. Whether the Trem is for you or not is ultimately going to come down to personal taste. They do make a bunch of guitars without the Trem system on here, but using a Trem on a headless definitely makes sense. And, you know, for me, being a fan of so many of the cutting edge designs from the 80s and players like Alan Holdsworth, this scratches that itch as well. I love the design. I love how easy it is to play. It definitely makes me play in a slightly different way. And having an instrument which makes you do different things or inspires you is ultimately the most important thing. If you've got one of these or you're thinking about one of these, I'd love to hear from you in the comment section below. And a massive thank you to the HILs team for getting this one out to me so that I could make this video. I'm going to use it on a bunch of other upcoming videos as well. If you like what I'm doing and you want to support me directly, there's links to my Patreon and the music that I make with my band Ragdoll. Now go and play your guitars and have some fun. I'll see you on the next one.